The forbidden door. Ayaan, an 8-year-old boy, had just moved into his grandparents' house with his parents. The house was old, filled with the scent of history, and had long hallways that seemed to whisper forgotten secrets. But what caught Ayaan's attention the most was a strange wooden door at the end of the corridor. It was locked, and unlike the other doors in the house, it had a sense of mystery wrapped around it. One night, as Ayaan was about to sleep, his grandfather sat beside him and gently placed a hand on his head. "No matter what happens, never open that door," his grandfather whispered. "Some things must remain undisturbed." His voice was serious, too serious. Ayaan had never seen his grandfather so concerned before. "What's behind it?" Ayaan asked. His curiosity sparked. His grandfather sighed. Memories, shadows of the past, and things that should never return. That night, as Ayaan lay in bed, he couldn't stop thinking about the door. Days passed, and Ayaan found himself drawn to the forbidden door. He would stand near it, placing his ear against the cold wood. And then, one evening, he heard something, a whisper. It was faint, but clear, like someone calling his name. "Ayaan, Ayaan, come inside." His heart pounded. He stepped back. Maybe he was imagining it. But then, something even stranger happened. The door knocked from the inside. Ayaan ran away. But now, he had to know the truth. That night, when everyone was asleep, Ayaan crept through the hallway, holding a small flashlight. Earlier that day, he had found an old rusty key in the attic, one that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. As he stood before the door, he hesitated. Should he open it? Then, taking a deep breath, he inserted the key and turned it. The door creaked open. Inside was darkness, a void that seemed endless. A chill ran down Ayaan's spine, but something inside pulled him forward, and before he could stop himself, he stepped through. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind him. Ayaan looked around. He was still in his grandparents' house, but something was wrong. The air was thick and cold. The walls were covered in cobwebs, and the furniture was old and broken, as if the house had been abandoned for 100 years. Then, he heard footsteps. From the shadows emerged his grandfather, but he was young, almost Ayaan's age. "Who are you?" the young grandfather asked, stepping closer. Ayaan's heart pounded. "I'm Ayaan, your grandson." The young grandfather's eyes widened in shock. "That's impossible. I've been trapped here for years." sunlight streamed through the window. Had it all been a dream? Then he heard a voice downstairs, his grandfather's voice. But something was different.